Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. What up, Ethan? What up, Desirous? What up? Let's put maybe utility on this. Cool. What up, Tuesday? Here we have it. Here it is in its final form. Let's get the spread. Let us get the spread. Yeah, I'll probably just walk through like everything. It's nothing too crazy, but there's some fun stuff in here that I like that I'll probably run through. And then, yeah, if you guys have any random questions, just ask in the chat like always. And I'll probably have this saved in the Discord for all those subscribers. I'll save the VOD. Like I do with all the track breakdowns. What should I do first? Maybe just play it. Nice. Yeah, so there's like a couple layering things that I did that I thought were kind of cool, and then some stuff I'll go over just like everything. What up, Asterix? What up, Fricks? What up, Retrograde? So I guess I'll just start from the beginning. I kind of actually just some of you guys probably heard like this intro like a couple months ago when I was just streaming, and I was like, hey, I just made this intro. And I was just showing it off, and I liked it a lot. Just sort of just like vocally kind of pad thing with a lot of ambiance. Just literally a sample. OTT, a little bit of EQ. And that's sort of like the main ambiance in the intro. There's other little stuff that I do on like all my tracks, like little root note kind of plucky stuff. I did the same thing in Cabbage. This is like a drone, I think. Yeah. It's kind of like an evolving drone pad from Arturia. I've been loving a lot of their stuff. And then like a wind atmosphere kind of thing. Just like a bunch of little atmosphere stuff. I wanted this track to be super kind of like high-endy and shimmery. Especially, yeah, same thing here. Just a little like splice. Let's see what this is. Show in browser. So it looks like I took like one of these little tails, stretched it out super far. Yeah, stretched it out super far with texture, and kind of just turned it into this like shimmery, little grainy top patch thing. I like doing that stuff a lot. And that's combined with this. And then there's this little like pulse alarm thing I've been using in like every track. I just love the sound of it. And you've got, you know, all the vocal shit that I typically do. This is more of like an ambiance vocal, so there's a... Wait, are these exactly the same? And they're both on? Oh, I definitely meant to change one. That's probably phasing. Oops. Oh well. But yeah, this is another just little background. Little vocal atmosphere, and then the like more ravey ones. Just like chop little stuff out. OTT reverb delay. And then it kind of has this super, it's like a growly atmosphere, which I think is from a resample of like an odd. Oh, no one heard that. An automate bass. He sent me a bunch of these crazy basses. I think it was like, yeah, it was that, and I resampled that and like did a ton of EQ and then froze and flattened it. Added a bunch of reverb. I don't know where the original patch is, but I'm not get rid of it. I love that. It has like a ton of high end and it's like sparkly and shimmery. So that's actually from Onion, and I just kind of like reprocessed it. Just like beefed it up a little bit. And pitched it down. Yeah, so it's usually like... Yeah, you probably like recognize that little patch from the Onion intro, and I just pitched it down and kind of reprocessed it to be just like a little fill. Yeah, same thing. Use the like Reese patch from Onion and reprocess that. It's a little bit beefier. It's rekeyed. So it comes from this to this. Just kind of like hollowed out the mids a lot, actually. Just kind of wanted that like thick low end, and then it kind of gets. What's on top of that? Where's the vocal patch boy? Up here. This reminds me of like a Madeon song intro. I don't remember which one. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's like Technicolors. I don't remember. So then I have this. Where's that vocal? That vocal is like teasing the drop melody. So this is it without the gate. Super fire. I don't know where I guess it's probably from Splice. And I gated it, sidechain gated it to the drop like phrase. But this is turned off, so it just follows that. You can see it right here. So the vocal follows the like the pattern of the drop, and it kind of teases that phrasing a little bit. More vocal. There's like I use so many vocal atmospheres on like my tracks recently. Effects. These are all just like stuff I've used. Here's the effects from Beef. Here's the effects from Spin Cycle. Here's the effects from Onion. Here's the effects from Cabbage, and then like this from my Splice pack. I just reuse a bunch of, and here's like a little tape stop from Rewind. I just kind of like reuse a bunch of effects and kind of recycle them. And I do that with a ton of stuff, as you guys have seen. Yeah, reprocessing stuff. So yeah, it goes and it does the same thing. I think I probably have that same sidechain gate. Yep, on this big riser. So without this. Super beefy kind of like hyper chorus. I don't even know. I took this super old patch that had nothing to do, like didn't sound like this at all, and just kind of like turned up the unison, turned up the detune it's on, but it's this super beefy like hyper patch, and I just The kick is this little kick from Splice that I put amp on. And yeah, snare build. So yeah, when the actual drop comes in, I still have that kick, and then I just add like another kick on top of it. Like, I just wanted something a lot more punchier. I kind of took out the low end, but they fit together pretty well. So I took the hats from Spin Cycle and chopped them to match the sort of like dotted eighth note flow. Snare is this super nice. So it's just this pretty dry, like trappy snare. I had just like stock reverb, overdrive, OTT, etc. I just like beat it up super hard and then added this tail. Sounds a little disjointed, but together with all the drums, I think it's. And in the context of the track, I think it sounds like it's super fat. I like that snare a lot. Little like kind of ghost fills I've been doing in tracks. Then just like a pretty basic ride. That's like Host and super wide. Whoa. And then yeah, the main patch is just like Rave Stab from my sample pack that I just chopped out. The flow seems super weird, but like because the sidechain's so heavy, like it doesn't even sound like this. So I didn't really do much to it. I just like cranked up the OTT. And then like a bunch of subtractive EQing because there was some like frequency buildup because I was layering a octave layer on top. Yeah, literally just pitched up an octave and probably with like phase filter. Yeah, just like give it a different tone, high pass it, kind of mix it in. And then there's like a lot of little more subtle kind of growly stuff. Which kind of gets tucked behind everything, but yeah, even that, it's like this one you can definitely hear. And then there's like little fills. Shout out Automate. Yeah, he sent me like the craziest bass one shots ever, and I kind of just like resampled them. Let's see what this one was from. 11. Yeah, so that little bit in there. Craziest stuff. Check out his stuff if you haven't. Shout out Automate. The yield. And then there's another main layer, which I did in Cheese as well. Which literally just sounds so bad on its own, but it follows the same pattern as the Rave Stabs and adds that just like super crunchy, like aggressive. So without it, and then with it, I feel like it adds just like a perfect amount of noise and crunch and sort of like transient almost aggression. I love the idea of having like a super aggressive, I guess like drop idea with like more basic stuff with like Rave Stabs, but just typically not aggressive. How I made the Rave Stabs? I made this when I was making my splice pack. I can probably show you in a separate project, but it's usually something simple like like a simple minor chord and then resampling that and just like dialing in the ADSR. I wonder if that's actually in the Dropbox of how I made the raised stabs. What else is cool? Yeah, the build is just more stuff from my splice pack. Super fat risers and choppy stuff. Some stuff from Fludge. the vocal from Flood. Kind of bringing these Vox chops halfway through the phrasing. So all my basses and pretty much everything but my sub gets sent to my sidechain group, where it gets sidechained via shaper box, and it gets high passed. I just use Pro Q2. Yeah, I'm sure it's right here, asterisk. Yeah, they all get sent to this channel right here. Yeah, I like using like super aggressive risers. Like this riser is insane, and that's like there's like 6 of them. So there's this riser group. Which was like nothing compared to the actual riser group, which is this. Which is just like a ton of sounds together. But it brings a ton of energy into the tune because the intro is kind of atmospheric. How do you go about arranging a build? I feel like doing build-ups is the most unfun thing about. I guess you have to approach it. I think Flexibillion actually used to talk about this, is like the build is kind of the most important part of your song, because that's what sets up the tension and release and sets up the energy for the tune. So like there's tunes I have like Hollow Tips where there's like not really a build at all. It's kind of just like this atmosphere, and things are evolving and getting automated, and there's like subtle riser stuff, but there's no like huge snare build and huge effects build and like syncopated drums and sidechain, and that allows me to have like that a different style drop, a sort of more hip-hop-y, I don't even know how to describe it, like sample based. But if you put like, if you sweat your balls off and go super deep into like these sort of builds, you can set up a lot more like tension. So you kind of could just approach it like, how aggressive do you want the tune to be? And it does. Not saying you need a super hype build to like make the tune aggressive, but you can use that as a transition to like introduce a lot of energy to the tune. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of times they're like not the funnest thing, but like you see, I reuse so many samples from other projects. Like I usually make the builds pretty fast, just in pretty much everything. I try to make pretty quickly, just because I'm trying to get to the next idea. Automate the master stereo on the build. Yeah, I do that. Do I do that on here? Yeah, I do. So I automate the master gain on the build. It drops like 3 dBs, but it also like gets compressed after that. This doesn't really make sense, but whatever. And then I also automate the stereo image to go a little bit more mono. So when the drop comes in, it sounds a lot more kind of full rather than the build, which kind of gets sucked in. Just fun little tips and tricks. Very nice. What else? Oh yeah, the sub is like 4 layers. I've been doing this a ton on my tunes recently. It's just like super layered subs. So this started with, oh god, what is the original sample? The super fat sub I use in a different tune, and I kind of just like reprocess that. It's got such a crazy, like, I love the tone of it. Took out a lot of the mid harmonics, saturated it to like, and brought out the low end. Probably mono, made it more mono. Yeah, just kind of like made this super mono. This is like the core sub. Auto filtered it. And saturated it again. I saturate my subs so much. And then this is the wider sort of like tonal layer. So here's this main sub, and then with this, it just adds this like harmonic on it. Looks like right here, which I like a lot. And then distorted layer, super high pass, and pretty wide as well. So here's these three together. And then there's another one, which is just like erosion, kind of just like almost movement. And those all get saturated a teeny bit together, and it's just like sidechain to the kick. And I moved the stereo image in a teeny bit and took away a little bit of that harmonic. So super fat sub, and then with the drop. So if I take away these three layers, let's see if we can like hear like an audible difference. So here's without. Yeah, I kind of love the like the little mid range and like just a little emphasis it adds. It's pretty subtle, but I like the difference. What's your opinion on high passing your subs? I actually do high pass like my entire track on the master. I just like roll off everything below usually like 20 to 30 hertz. Looks like on this one, it's like not that much of a high pass at all actually. And then I rolled off the sides, like not even 100. And then just some like cleanup stuff in the higher frequencies. I think there's a top layer that comes in. Oh yeah, in terms of effects, there's like more atmosphere stuff. I share this in every track. I add a ton of like tension stuff to the top layer of my drops. Where's that main little, this thing? Super cool sound. I have no idea how I made that. I guess I just froze it and flattened it. Damn, unlucky. It probably was just like a auto pan, like automating the rate. But damn, that's a sick sound. So that kind of like comes in as a second layer. That my CPU isn't being not happy right now. Oof, unlucky. Little like kind of Reese fills that I do. Sorry. Yeah, the CPU is pretty bad on this project. Shout out company. Just like a little one shot from his pack that I used to like bring in this break transition section. And then it's kind of like similar to the intro, but I added some more elements. There's this sort of like super shimmery bell sound. There's this like little flute. Super kind of like ethereal soundscape stuff. I don't know how to describe it. Whoa! Yo, Swag Wizard 420 with the Twitch Prime. Yeah, thank you so much for subbing, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. What else? What else? What else? Oh, yeah, and then kind of similar for the second drop, I switched up the flow a little bit, switched up the fills a little bit. I guess that's what? No, I don't think that's actually doing anything. I can't hear that at all. You're the last show I saw was Spaghetti when shit went down. Oh, in St. Louis? Nice, dude. How do you implement this sort of movement into the other sounds other than side chaining, like with a rhythm? I said that earlier. You'd use a gate. So like the easiest way to show you is on the riser. So here's this big riser. Oh, that's not it. Wait, yes, it is. Here's this big riser. And I sidechain gated it, so it's like reacting to the volume of another signal. And in that case, it's this signal. Oh, and yeah, oh, and Lawrence. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was the last show. That's crazy. What else? Yeah, my CPU is getting very unhappy. That'll probably help. How do you make like wobble on Reese? How do you get the exact movement on the Reese? What Reese are you talking about? Are you talking about like in the drop? Because there's where is it? This one? That one. Yeah, I can show you that patch. I'll probably just open up a new project. That is from two sine waves that are detuned from each other, like being distorted a ton and being pitched down. So this is from, it's actually from my pack. I could show you that patch. It's like a crazy, actually I think I gave it to my Discord like a while ago. It's called like Faceplant Mega Reese. I can show you guys that patch. I'll probably open it in a new project because it's a thick boy. What else is cool in here? Drum processing. I do in like every tune. Glue compressor, saturator, transient shaper, and then I use like another transient shaper. Then a little bit of high end cleanup. Very nice. Sub, sidechain to the kick. Pretty basic stuff. I think I've gone through almost everything. Master chain. So I showed you ProQ. This little multiband thing that I use. A glue compressor, fat filter, Pro L. And that's it. And then some like utility automation. This isn't on. Oops. Is the sub not sidechained to the snare? No, it's not. But I do. It's not sidechained, but it's kind of like volume sidechained, you know? Just like how I use the fades in this track. So it kind of is sidechained to the snare, I guess. But just in more terms of like... Yeah, it's just like kind of like a really subtle fade. And... pretty loud. Pro L over Invisible Limiter. They're both like equally pretty good. I've just been going for like the glue compressor fat filter Pro L combo just because it's like super easy to throw on and I know what it'll sound like. Anything else, guys, in the chat, or I will show you guys that Reese patch in a new project. How do you go about mixing so many elements? Yeah, that's a good question. I probably add way too much stuff and overproduce my music. I feel like I don't overproduce maybe the ideas, but maybe just like the top-down approach. At the end, I don't look at my meters at all. I kind of just like gain everything based on like using my ears. So this track here, let me turn it down like a... So it looks like it's clipping like 5 dBs here. I'll turn, this is gonna be, it might be loud for a second. It's clipping like 4 dBs in the red. But yeah, not super important. I just like, I think it's fine. So I don't look at the, I don't really look at my meters at all. I don't look at like my like meters going into the master. I don't look at my track meters. I kind of just use my ears. And gain stage based on like where I think things should be, or like other songs I've released that I like the mix of. How often are you skipping frequencies intentionally to give room to others? Yeah, almost all my EQing is subtractive. This is like the drop processing, and it's just like taking away frequencies that I don't want there. This is a little scoop out to make room for like the sub frequencies that I added. This little scoop out of like frequencies that added up, and I did it again with like just like more stuff that bothered me. Same with my sub. I took out a little bit of high end and even more of like this 100 to 200 hertz range because I did like a ton of work on that range to get this like super fat sub. Same with drums. Like almost all my channels have just like a bunch of subtractive EQing. I don't usually do a lot of boosting, but I do a ton of saturation in OTT. So like there's already a ton of harmonics. I kind of like sculpt out the sound, boost it up, and then like resculpt it, and that's how I mix things into each other. Yeah, even more EQ stuff. I typically don't like high frequencies that hurt your ears, because I like pushing my track pretty loud at the end. Whoa! Citrix Music with the 3 months with the Prime sub. Thank you, man. What up? What up? What's going on with the transient shaper? Oh, these are just the like. That's just the configured settings. I don't touch it at all. It's just Neutron 2. That's mostly it. I can't think of anything I've missed. What is returns for? One of these is a reverb I use sometimes, and the other one is like a parallel rectifier. I sometimes use this to just like parallel a teeny bit and add a teeny bit of loudness. So like here's the sorry. I usually just like add this like super saturated parallel version. I find it like, I don't know, it's like an older technique that I kind of just would throw on, that I like kind of convince myself could make tunes a little bit louder or like sounds a little bit fatter. I use it pretty subtly now though. Which synth do you use the most? Probably Serum and Operator, I guess. I'm mostly just Serum. Recently I like just working with audio. But I don't know. I like Serum a lot, I like Operator a lot, and I like Sampler a lot. Faceplant and Vital are super cool as well. How do you go about mixdowns? I don't know. I kind of mix as I go. Like when I get to this, like when the track's like done, there's usually only like a couple of steps I make, and that's just like fixing sidechain or making sure the sidechain's right, and like little subtractive EQing like this, making sure the entire mix is right. Like I'll try bumping up the bumping up the drums like a decibel and pulling down, everything else maybe like a decibel. So usually like my drums pretty loud, but I don't know. I kind of just mix as I go. So I don't, when I get to the end, like the track's pretty much finished in terms of like final mixdown stuff. It just needs like that 10% of like cleanup and maybe getting rid of tails, making sure that settings are right, sidechain is right, layering is right. I don't know. I kind of don't think about the mixdown process that much because I like overdo it. Is it necessary to leave headroom? No, definitely not. I think even if you're like working in 32-bit, like if you are clipping super loud, you can just like use a utility and turn it down, and it will sound the same as if like you properly gain stage it. But I wouldn't worry about headroom too much. It could be a good practice if you're like working with other people who like that shit, or you're sending your mixes off to people who care about that stuff. But I typically don't look at like my master at all. But I also like, I produce with like a glue compressor on with like soft clipping. So it's just like, it's like hit these. So let's just turn everything off. So this is like maybe how I produce after I write the intro and maybe like some flush out the track, like halfway or 40%, I'll just throw on like a glue compressor and I'll just like soft clip it like for 2 dBs and like barely. I guess this like utility's on, so. So like I'll just kind of like squeeze the track a little bit because I know I'm gonna be squeezing it at the end with like an actual master, and I kind of like the way it sounds with like super light soft clipping. But yeah, I typically don't worry about the meters at all. I'd usually, I'll kind of like write half the track and like maybe add like a super light master. Like I said, my master's only like 4 plugins, but so I'll add like the glue compressor, and maybe like an EQ, but usually just like the glue compressor and maybe like the fab filter just to like boost it a little bit. But, most of my loudness comes from the mix, and I'd say loudness on like all tracks usually comes from the mix. Do you start with the drop or the intro when you make a song? I usually almost start with the intro. Do you digital clip in groups or anything so there's no digital distortion but also keep it loud? Not really. I have like light process, not really. I have like saturating on groups, which will kind of but I don't have soft clip on. It'll still kind of like compress it a little bit, but I don't know. I kind of just like have all the elements mixed pretty loud. So kind of just make everything as loud as you can without it sounding like shit. I don't know. This track isn't like super loud to me. Dirty Laundry is like crazy loud. It's like too loud. But this track kind of sounds loud. My tracks sound loud because I'm literally like filling up every single frequency. So there's, you know, the main bass, just like a ton of crazy energy and harmonics on that, and like it's a pretty fast pattern. Then there's like a super distorted, and then there's this like kind of crazy more distortion behind it. There's little fills in here, like it's stuff you can barely even hear, but there's kind of like adds richness and texture to everything. And that's literally just like the bass group. Then there's obviously the drums. The sub is like filling out all the low end and a ton of more information like in the mid harmonics and high harmonics. And then there's the effects doing like shimmery stuff, atmosphere tension stuff. And then there's the vocals, which are carrying this sort of like even more. So I do a ton of, that's like kind of how I get inspired to write, is like filling out frequencies, and finding like different ways to do that. So my tracks kind of sound loud because I have a lot of every single like frequency accounted for. Do you analyze the spectrum and then go fill UC gaps, or just by ear? I just go by ear. Can't seem to make the intro drop together without copy and pasting progression. Sound boring. I would maybe just look at like finding a track that you think does that really well and then just copying that structure. Usually they're probably introducing like a fill or like crazy downfalls, or like a break section which like introduces heavier elements to a chord progression maybe. Do you think it matters to make sure the limiter is never above 0 in the master? Almost all of my cleanest mix sounds are redlining on the master, but it's all loud and clean. It just isn't technically limited at below 0 dB on the master. I mean, when you export it, it will be that, because you can't like clip a digital file, or you know, like if when I export this, it'll just clip it. It'll clip your transients. You can't like import a digital file and have it clip into a DAW unless you're like changing it somehow. So it's still like, it's clipping, but most producers just use like soft clipping now to like get loudness, because you can like push into the limiter. I feel like when I make everything loud and then throw the master chain on, it brings out much harsh frequencies. Any idea how to avoid that? Kind of like I said, I do a ton of mix cutting. Almost all of my channels have like a lot of cutting to make a room for the other frequencies. Do you ever get a muddy mix from not cutting lows on a lot of the elements? No, I do cut the lows. I cut them in a sidechain group. So where I send everything that gets sidechain, it gets high passed. But yeah, there are some times where I'll just like kind of let low end stack because I like really prominent like weird sub movement. Like I only have a utility in the master to make sure my sub is mono below 80 to 100 hertz depending on the track. What up, Kodo? Mixing over mastering? Yeah, almost every producer I know now, like the mastering chain is super basic. It's just like a glue compressor or like a saturator, like driving into a soft clip. Or some guys like literally will just turn it up and like redline it and export it. What was I just saying about that? Yeah, but yeah, absolutely mixing over mastering. Like my mastering chain's pretty, like without my mastering chain, like the track just like sounds the same. It literally sounds exactly the same. It's just like it's just like a little bit of a tighter squeeze with the master on it. How do you get this high loss without abusing compression? Like I said, filling out every frequency. And my subs are like pretty cooked. My subs are pretty loud. And subs you can get a ton of. Subs are like 70% of headroom in dance music tracks a lot of time. Like just look at a spectrum. Like the sub is so much louder than everything. Actually, this isn't. Like I could even get away with cutting more on this track. It's pretty bright and high end heavy, but that's just kind of the nature of rave stabs. Subs are like 70% of your headroom on dance music tracks a lot of time because they take up so much energy, and it's kind of like the Fletcher Munson curve, right? So where higher end, you don't need as much volume to hear it, but like the lower frequencies you go, you kind of have to like add more volume for it to be as audible to the human ear. So my subs are pretty loud, and like I usually have them even louder. And I sidechain super heavy, which lets my drums hit super hard, which can give you a ton of final volume. Transient shaping as well can make your drums like sound super loud. No delay in the master. What do you mean? Why would I have delay in my master? Oh, are you trolling? Have you been practicing your dances for live shows since they're coming back soon? No. I'll have to start practicing tonight. I've never heard of that term. Fletcher Munson curve. It's just like how our ears perceive sound, I think. Or it's how. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's how we perceive sound. Yeah, you're chilling. It's all good. I don't even know what this track sounds like in mono. Hopefully it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds fine to me. What's your go-to dance move? In all my like videos on Instagram, I kind of like throw the dice a little bit. It's kind of cringe. I noticed that in like videos that I see, or videos of me when I'm DJing, I'll kind of like do the sidearm, throw the dice. Pretty lame. Unlucky. Any last questions on this before I show you guys that Reese patch? It's what frequencies are most comfortable for the human ear. Yeah. Yeah, it has to do with like sound pressure, I think. I don't know. As far as organization, how do you group elements? Kind of like this. I usually, sorry, that was kind of rude, but I usually kind of do like all my intro and synth instrument elements together. I do all my drop elements together. I do my sub together, kick snare, but kick snare ends up being all my drums usually. This ends up, drums just usually ends up being high end percussion that I want to sidechain, effects, vocals. And then all of these besides kick snare and sub, usually get routed to my sidechain, so they get ducked pretty hard when the kick and or snare hits. I usually like a pretty heavy sidechain on my like heavier tracks. Do you sidechain your drum top loops to kick snare normally? It depends. Sometimes. This one I did not. They're just kind of layered on top of each other, but I kind of like manually faded it so that the transients like wouldn't hit on when the snare and kick transients hit. You can literally hear it. So when these hats are playing, to like match the rhythm of the drop, there's no, they have like the attack on them, and then when the kick and snare it, there's like a little bit of a fade in, so the kick can just like pop through. Do you change the length of the sidechain depending on kick size length? No, I almost do the opposite. I almost always like fade in my kick. I like really, really short kicks. Like, this kick doesn't really have doesn't have a ton of low end. It exists for like, what is this time frame? So I guess this would be a quarter, eighth. So it exists for like a 16th note. It's like a really, really short kick. I usually don't want like a ton of sub in my kick. I usually just want it to like hit super fast and then my sub like instantly kick in. Do you ever use drum racks? Oh, like the Ableton drum racks? No, not really. I've seen some guys who like really like it because they can do like the chain selector stuff and go through a bunch of samples, but I usually like have a specific idea of the sample I want to add already, and I kind of know where to find it. Do I do my sidechaining with here? I get you, Beth. Do I do my sidechaining with the fades? No, I did it like because I had used a section of the sub that like wasn't clipped at the zero crossing, so I just faded it in. But it gets sidechained. Like I'm pretty sure if I but I did use the fades to sidechain to the snare. But I'm pretty sure if I pulled all these back, it would sound like yeah, it would sound like almost exactly the same. Like basically what this compression is doing is like the same thing as this, but it's just making sure that the sub's completely out of the way when the kick hits, and then it snaps right back in. And then yeah, there's like a super light sidechain on the snare. The order of my master is I don't think it's like super important, but I like to EQ first before I like do anything, just to get like frequencies out of the way. There's no point. I guess if I was like compressing and then clipping and then cutting the lows, I would be like compressing and clipping the lows and the sides and then like getting rid of them, as opposed to like getting rid of them first and then just like only enhancing the frequencies I wanted. I think that argument can actually go both ways, but I don't know. It's just like what I've gotten used to is like it makes more sense for me to get rid of the frequencies and then boost them, as opposed to like boost them and then get rid of them. So EQ first, then I have this like little multi-band preset that I've kind of like edited from a bunch of guys. It basically just turns up the high and the mids. It doesn't touch the low end at all. And it kind of just like, because I kind of have super bright mix downs, I like the kind of like subtle brightness it adds. And then I compress everything with a glue compressor, like a pretty light compression with the glue compressor. So it's like hitting 3 dBs of gain reduction and making up like 2 dBs. There's no attack or super slow attack, super tight release. So it's like not clipping any of the transients. It's just sort of like pumping everything, and then it gets pushed into a clipper or whatever this clipping preset is, which is pretty similar settings. So super slow attack, super fast release. And there's like no look ahead. Yeah, so it doesn't like adjust at all. It just kind of chops the sound, which gives you that super kind of clipped, punchy. Maybe not punchy is the right word. I guess it is, because that's what Pro L said. It was punchy. Cool. I'm going to pull up that patch now. Keats knows. EQ definitely sounds more transparent that way. Cutting before color compression. Yep. So that patch is from this faceplant patch. This is when I first got faceplant, and I just wanted to like, I don't know. All my sound design is just like based on post processing, really. But I liked faceplant's internal stuff. Nice. I love this patch. I use this a ton for fills. And I just had like a bunch of random parameters. super fat. And that's like what I use for a ton of my receive fills. So tractive EQing is clutch. Yeah, I do. I definitely do a lot of it, and I like do more of it and more of it as time goes on. Because like I get so cringed out by like a lot of my older mix sounds, or like how like bad the high end is, and like how much it hurts to listen to. The faster and slower macros are probably attached to like the detune. So there's two. Oh God, how can I like explain this in like in a way that, or so you guys can hear it? Let me just turn off all this processing. So this is the heart of this patch. It's just two sine waves detuned from each other, with like maybe a little bit of FM. I literally just like duplicated it. So it's a sine wave, and then another sine wave, and one is 3 semitones higher, and that's what's causing like the phasing. So the faster and slower, I'm pretty sure, are attached to the faster will make it the detune, like the semitone higher. So it'll be a faster detune, and the slower will slow it down. That's like kind of the basis of a lot of your like Reese design. If you go that route where you're using two sine waves detuned, or two wave tables detuned, and then like usually distorted, and then I added like kind of just like isolated this mid frequency, and then just like destroyed it with post processing. Yeah, the phase is making the speed change. Yes, sorry, that's a way better of way than I just like poorly described it. Yeah, I use this. I like ended up bounce. Oh, where did it go? I thought I bounced out like a massive. Maybe not. Oh, I called it Reese Playground. Yeah, so like when I first made this patch, I bounced out this like massive. And I use that for fills for like, I still use it. I mean, you guys just saw it. I use it in like so many different tracks. Like that one little audio clip. Just because this patch is like pretty juicy, and I usually don't want to like throw it into full projects. But nice. Yeah, exactly. How do you describe color saturation? I don't usually saturate for color. I usually saturate for harmonics. I don't know how interchangeable those words are, though. Depends how you define them. Bop, bop, bop. Yeah, but like I was saying earlier, all the project breakdowns I do will be saved. Basically, they all have already been saved in my Dropbox folder in the Discord. If you're a sub, you can see like every single project I've ever done that I've streamed. I think it like goes back to like Dirty Laundry, and then all the flashback EP, most of my remixes, and I've kind of anything I've done a breakdown of is probably in that project folder. And this one will be in there too. So shout out all the subs. How do you hear your drums loud and bright without them being piercing? Sample selection and processing. I usually don't choose pretty. I use like my kicks are pretty, I guess, like thumpy. Yo, Flutter's always coming in with the gifts from downtown. to Desert's tunes. Yo, shout out Flutter. Perfect sub timing. Yeah, it was perfect. Oh, I'll show you guys how I made the. Let me see if I can find it. The rave stabs. A lot of people used to ask about that. I think I still have it. Yoy. Yoy. Rave stab design. There we go. Wait, what? Yo, Skybreak with the raid. What up? What up? Thank you so much, man. Hope you had a good stream. What's good? What's up, dude? Send me some tunes, man. I'll gotta follow you on Twitter. I'll do it after the stream. Oh God, what was I just talking about? Chat, what was I just talking about? Brave stabs, and someone asked something about. Oh, bright drums. Yeah, I usually choose like pretty like more hip hoppy drums, and then just add like high end to them with like amp or OTT or like adding transients. And I choose like really small drums, and I guess like that lets me make them super big without, because depending on your sample selection, if you have like a super beefy drum and then try to like destroy it even more, you don't have a ton of room. Okay, cool. I hope this is where I did all the rave stab design for the sample pack. And there's no sound. Interesting. But yeah, almost all the rave stab design was just like taking, what is that chord? Taking like a minor chord and like resampling it and then just like pitching it around. I don't know why this one sounds so bad. Might be the wavetable. Or like, there's maybe like a weird, what is this? C minor. But what I would do is like take like a kind of like a C minor chord and resample it. And kind of just like reprocess it a little bit more. If you add like distortion or disperser or something, and kind of like see how that pattern or how that would sound. So maybe doing something like taking the chord and pitching it down like a couple semitones. And that sounds like, yeah, this is the major chord. That's why it sounds so shitty. That sounds like some of like the older dub tracks. Let me do a minor chord. I kind of like that one, so doing something like that instead, and maybe just like bop 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 bop. There we go. That's a lot closer to like. But the whole premise of like usually rave stabs is you're using one chord and just like transposing it around. You're not like actually changing the chord structure based on a scale. Easy as that. Hold on a sec. Let me turn a light on. So and then I like would even do more like layering. So I would layer like kind of like a stab, playing the root. I don't know what I even transposed. This was C. This was C minor. Moved it to D minor. What is this playing? E. So I'd move that down. And then that would just like kind of accent, give it like a little bit of low end. And then what is this one? I think it's the same patch, but basically you could just add like little subtle kind of root note variations. So this is before, this is after. Actually, let me bring this out a little bit. It sounds kind of cool. I kind of like it. Yeah, having this like kind of actually play different patterns is kind of cool. It adds like a moving low end. Oops, go up semitone here. And you could do that with like anything. You could take like perks, perk samples, like anything tonal in one shot, and kind of add it and like give the chord a little bit more character. Like let's use just give me like a simple I just want like a simple C minor one shot. That's something nice. Unfortunately, can't find any. There we go. Something like that. Actually, that's the one shot in cabbage. So we could just like add that in, and then so this would be before. So now we have this like kind of transient in here, which is like kind of, it gives it a little bit more character. Go up an octave. It's like a different way to just like add like a little bit of unique character to the chord. I did that. But yeah, so without it, it's kind of, oops. Still sounds super cool, but when we add like this bass in and then this like root note, kind of liked it down an octave. So that's how I made like all the rave steps for the sample platter, the sample pack, available now on Splice. I like that one a lot. How does this work for you? When I try it, sounds like elephant farted in my ear. Unlucky, man. I guess just like start with a simple minor chord, maybe add like the brute note an octave or two down. OTT, a white noise is your friend. Get some noise in that bad boy. Phasers, maybe flangers. I just like added like some basic stuff to give it a little bit of movement. Unison. Have you looked into AS console device? A ton of people have been asking me about that. I don't even know what it is. I'll check it out after the stream. Bong. What else? What else? So that's the race stab. We did the Reese as well. What else? What else? Boys and girls. I think I covered almost everything in the tune. Any collabs you're working on you can hint at? Nothing that like I could even hint at because they're still like very early. What did you do for a job after Icon? I was like sound designing presets and like making samples for like random companies. Which is like not like the super luxurious gig. Latster coming in with the sub. What up? How you doing? Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mostly like was able to just work on music afterwards. I was super lucky that I was able to. Originally, I was doing like preset, and like sample design, and then I like landed a gig that I've shown it all the time, but I landed a gig doing this like background music. It wasn't even background music. It became like theme music for this video game called Samurai Showdown, and that like paid my rent for the whole year. So I was like able to just work on more music. Did you get help from teachers and job placements or anything like that? Sort of. Like half of them were just like random people I met, or like my friends at school, who like saw that I was interested in sound design and knew what I was doing. And they would like hit me up if any jobs came their way that like maybe they couldn't tackle. Yeah, one of them I think ended up coming from like just like a guy who would just be like, hey, he would post in this like massive group of like, it'd be like, hey, like this company's looking for sound designers, and I like sent them a bunch of stuff, and then they wanted to like work together and make presets, and that was super dope. That was pretty exciting. I made like a ton of them for it wasn't, I don't know, you guys probably wouldn't guess, but it doesn't matter anyways. But they were awesome. You can get different placements. Kodo. Yo, Kodo. I always see you here, man. What's up? I appreciate you subbing. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, dude, you're all good, man. You're all good. I always see you in here supporting. Thank you. When you add multiple erosions at several points in the chain, what is the signal doing? Is it just applying more erosion to added harmonics, etc., from the effects in between? Yeah, I think this was just like me adding erosion and then just like adding more. Like I definitely don't need to do that. I definitely just needed one. Sometimes I like using like multiple erosions though. Erosion's super underrated, super powerful. Especially on sine mode. Like I use this all the time for adding like a nice reduxy texture to plucks. What do you think about if I can get different placements? Yeah, there's like a ton of ways you can definitely, obviously shows are going to be returning. So that's like the main way I guess artists like to make money. And the best way is because playing live shows. But I I try to do like a bunch of different stuff, like sync stuff. I showed last week that I got like synced for that new Disney movie, just like in a TV spot. And then I've done stuff for like WWE and Keeping Up with the Kardashians and like super random TV shows that are like help set me up for like, I guess, like having a long-term career in the audio world. And it's just like passive income. It's super fun to do because I like making a lot of different, I mean, I show you guys all the time, like these super random kind of like beat ideas or just like more basic stuff that wouldn't fit out under Effin, but I still like to sort of find ways to place it in different worlds. What is something you've added to your workflow recently for sound design? I don't know. I haven't done sound design in a while, in like a couple weeks. I've been pretty lazy. I've actually just been kind of like going back to Serum and just like really messing with the FM wavetables. I get a ton of use out of them, and like resampling wavetables that you can do like inside Serum, just like resample the warp resampled oscillator A. That stuff's so crazy. Like I feel like you can make like the most insane sounds with that, but I just like didn't get into it. So I'm trying to just get back into that stuff. And working with audio. I like working with audio a lot more now than I do with MIDI. What is something you've added? Hey, Effin, do you ever sound design? Like you make a sound, then layer it with a sub and sort it all together? Yeah, you could do like the saturation with like blowing a sound out because with using low end. No, I don't usually do that stuff. I see Company do it a lot though, where he'll just like crank up the low end and like wave shape it, and it adds this like really nice distortion. Let's see. So for like the sync stuff, this was like an example of something I made a couple of days ago. So I do like a lot of stuff like this and just like, I don't know, try to put it in like a Cialis commercial or something. Where do you draw inspiration from? Food. I don't know. No, I usually just like try to find inspiration just from random stuff on Spotify. I like how you can hear a hint of that bass music aggressiveness in the drums, or I don't know if I'm biased. It's kind of because I know it's yours. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like my drums pretty chunky. Look at that snare. That's a chunk. It's a big boy. What else, chat? What else? I might wrap it up here soon. We went through all of bread. We went through the raised stabs, the Reese stuff, tips and tricks. You ate bread on stream? Nah, dude. I should. More sync stuff? I hope I could show you more stuff. I'm waiting on a couple to hear back from some random stuff. Sounded rad. I want to hear more. Cornbread. Yeah, I have a whole folder of that stuff. Like way too many. This is my whole like there's like kind of probably like 20 30 more, but this is like all the stuff that I've tried to get synced. So a bunch of, there's like a campaign for VW didn't land, some other random stuff. This is like the whole campaign I did for this Samurai Showdown that all went through. I did like 30 for them, like 20. There's like this random, this one was kind of cool. I think this one ended up in like a hard drive commercial that was like had skateboarding. It's the same thing. Just like really random stuff. A bunch of stuff for ESPN. Bunch of stuff for Bethesda, for Rage 2. Some fun projects. What does my mastering chain look like? I showed it earlier, Ladser. It's usually an EQ, multiband, and then two glue compressors. Excuse me. Sorry, chat. Do your kicks hit an octave higher on the sub to not match with the sub from the basses, or are you saying the same octave? I usually don't look at like the key of my kicks unless it has like a really audible tone. But my kicks are definitely way more mid-rangey than they are bassy. Later, Asterix. Are these paying good money? Not really. But I mean, you can like make them in like an hour. God, dude, that's like my third voice crack today. You can make like one a day, you know, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's just like a good exercise. And then maybe like over time, they can definitely pay. Like you're just like, oh shit, that's nice. I don't have like the biggest resume, but a couple of them, all it takes is like a couple of them to like land bigger slots. And then there's like two sides of it. There's like the sync side, so maybe you'd make like a library of stuff. And then like a TV show, for example, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians would come through and be like, oh, we want these two. And out of like an album of like future trappy beats, and they would use like 2 of them, and then you get like royalties every time that episode plays, which is like adds up over time. And then the other side is like the placement, or maybe like the more of like exclusive custom house stuff where someone would hit you up, or hit a studio up that I work with and be like, hey, we want like a super high energy kind of trap tune with like these kind of elements and these kind of sounds in it. And then they would ask like a couple studios to do that, and then they just like pick their favorite, and you hope yours lands because they're usually using it for like an exclusive cut with like audio and visuals. So there's like a bigger payout because it's more of like a project for them that they're like syncing audio with music and pushing it to like promote their product, as opposed to like just being the background before a commercial hits. If you go to any like Keeping Up with the Kardashians song, they literally use like 30 to 60 songs in a episode, and they just use like 10 seconds. Or as opposed to like other stuff where you're literally making like certain time-stamped arrangements of just like first 15 seconds we want a riser, then we want a breakdown section, then we want a quick drop section that ducks out after 30 seconds and goes back into a second edit. They like give you very specific timestamps and very specific themes. There's like 2 very different sides, and there's kind of like intermediary parts of that, but it's all fun. How do you make your own drums? I showed that when I broke down the splice pack. I usually just compress sine waves. Yeah, usually with Serum. I think I use Serum for the kicks and the snares for my sample pack. iPhone Effin commercial? Dude, that's what we're definitely trying to do. Gotta get that Super Bowl slot. Alright, I'll probably do like 3 to 5 more minutes of random questions if you guys have. The bread, it'll probably be saved on my channel for a while. The breakdown. But it'll definitely be in the folder for all the subs. Would it be cool if I bring my KRK Rockets and I meet you somewhere live to play some fire demos? I would have you personally escorted out of the venue. Bum, bum. Wow. GG's. Yeah, true, Keats, true. How'd you go about making Skrillex yoink? Probably FM. I don't know, man. That might be a question for YouTube. What else? Oh yeah, let me pull up that folder. Your EQ processing kind of looks weird. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. What is normal? It might just be fake, dude. It might not even be real. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I will upload the... Is the onion in here? Yeah, it is. The bread project breakdown in here. This has pretty much... This folder has all my breakdowns of tracks I've done live. It has stuff from the Splice Pack, the guy who asked about kicks and snares. The Flashback EP, random old stuff, even Dirty Laundry, where I literally look like I am 9 years old, even though that was like only 2 years ago. Unlucky. Partials on there too. So yeah, all this will be in the Discord if you're a subscriber. Unlucky. What else? Yeah, I'm just gonna continue to shill myself out. Effin official brand new merch. Let's go. Also, Never Say Die merch that I'm rocking right now. Hit them up. All the new stuff, super fire. I definitely want to see some people rocking it when the shows come back. Yeah, I look like a child. Dude, it's so funny. It's so funny to like look at some of the older VODs.
Sidechain, says Pierce. Bass glitches. Called stage limiting. Trash disperser. Shout out Kilo Hearts.
Literal child. Yeah, literally compressing farts, just like an absolute child. Yeah, we've definitely changed a lot since then, for sure. How to get a manager or how you got a manager? I guess that it's just like kind of comes when you think that maybe you can't handle everything yourself, or you're ready to take that next step. But I mean, that's really hard to like. It's really hard to know when you're ready for like the next step of maybe like starting to look at bookings versus starting to look at like major label releases. Because I thought I was ready, and then I was like listening back at some of the demos that like I'd gotten turned down, and I was like, holy shit, these songs were so bad. Thank God they didn't get accepted by these labels. I don't know. It for me, it was a really organic thing where Tynan was staying at my house, and his manager at the time, who's my manager now, Tynan was staying at my crib, and like most everything in music, it just happened to be like because of random people who like you're connected with. He was pretty much only staying there because Matt Peekaboo, and they had like talked on Facebook, and me and Kevin Tynan had talked on Facebook like once or twice, and he was like, hey, I'm playing a show in LA, and I kind of crashed at your place, and we ended up just like getting drunk and talking about music, and he was like, oh, my manager's coming over, like he's looking for new clients, I'll like hype you up. So shout out Tynan forever. He like hyped me up and showed a bunch of like my IDs at the time. I talk about this a lot, how important it is to have like unreleased when you're sort of looking to make that next step, especially for a manager. Like if you're a upcoming artist, that's all a lot of the time that's all like they can do for you as a manager is kind of like maybe be able to shop your stuff to bigger labels. So having like a huge back catalog of stuff is pretty important. Not even huge, but just like having a very just like a songs ready to go, like finished, final, ready to be shopped. Is there any particular song of yours that you consider when you found your identity as Effin? I don't know. I mean, Cabbage was obviously like one of the biggest ones, and I still like that. I still like love that track. I love the arrangement of it because it like combines a lot of elements together, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with Effin, is just like throw stuff together that maybe like didn't have a place and just like overproduce the shit out of it and just like make these crazy transitions between the beginning, which is like this slow diva patch that goes to like big room, which goes to like neuro, which goes to like this heavy trap, like bassy, distorted noise drop. So that was a big one for me for sure. But in terms of, it's still like a long process. I still have no idea what I want to make or what like I'm going to make when I sit down, and it usually comes out different every time. It's like kind of exciting. I think the new stuff is going to be way different than the old stuff. You still use trash too? Actually, I wish I got back into it. People were showing me some crazy stuff with it. I haven't used it as much. I usually just use amp because I like amp. If you're getting trashy sounds, you're probably already using like pretty aggressive sounds before you distort them. A lot of my sound design is like literally sine wave and basic shapes, so I have a lot of room to like shape the harmonics as opposed to like really wavetables with like a ton of movement where you don't have like a ton of room to like maybe distort things. Yeah, if you have too much high end going into any like sort of distortion, it's going to sound horrible. Okay. Awesome. Nice. We just like cleared through like 2 hours. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I went through like almost everything you read. Stream it, save it on Spotify, download it if you can. It helps a lot. Comment on SoundCloud. Just go comment bread. Other than that, I'm probably gonna hop off. I am moving to Nashville in like 5 days, so we'll see about the stream, the usual Thursday streams. We'll see what's going on because I'll probably be in the middle of like a big move. But other than that, thank you guys all for tuning in. What up, Strike? What up? I think I went through like everything pretty quickly. Awesome. No problem, Goto. Yeah, thank you for subbing today. Thank you everyone who subscribed today, everyone who stopped by. Stay safe out there. I'll see you soon.